All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're back on the docket for the afternoon, and we will do the first appearance docket first. Those of you who are here for first appearance, I will let you know if I've determined probable cause, and then we will talk about release conditions. Please make sure that you check with your attorney before speaking on the record, because everything in this courtroom is being recorded and can be used against you at a later time. All right, let's start with Addie Rojas. All right, Mr. Rojas, you're before the court for charge one is DUI, alcohol or drugs. Number two is DUI with a breath level greater than .15. 3 and 4 are traffic infractions. Number three, operating without a valid driver's license. And then number four is a traffic infraction, disobeying a stop sign. All right, I find probable cause.
Judge, nothing to add from the offense. I'm gonna be contacting Ms. Rojas' mother to post her bond.
Okay, did you say her bond has been posted? Her bond has been posted.
Mom already posted.
Really?
Okay.
Sorry, I got excited.
All right. Okay, Samantha Ribolal,
North Road?
she's in reset.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. And then Kevin Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy, come on up, please. He's approaching you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kennedy, you're before the court. Charge one is driving while license suspended. Number two is improper turn. Number three is a traffic capias. And number four is an out-of-county misdemeanor hold that's not for magistrate and has a $500 bond. This is out of Lee County. Okay, I find probable cause.
Judge, I'm just gonna be requesting a phone order.
All right, I'll sign that phone order. I'll leave the standard bonds in place, and it looks like Mr. Kennedy has court on Monday. All right. Andres Fernandez Caporali.
Fernandez, Judge Bond.
He's standing
I'm sorry.
right there. Has his bond been posted?
I forgot to let the deputies know. Sorry, should've been.
No, she's checking. It has been posted? Okay. Mr. Fernandez's bond has been posted.
Good luck, good luck.
All right. Chevin Simpson.
Mr. Simpson, come on up, please.
All right, Mr. Simpson, you're before the court for a trespassing charge, and I find probable cause.
Judge, can we check to see if his bond's been posted?
Okay. Uh-huh.
But they sent it back to me stating they were unable to process from the canteen.
So apparently he was trying, or someone was trying?
I think he may have been
Mr. Simpson was trying?
on, I think.
Okay. Okay. All right, so what I'm being told is that it appears that he was trying to self-bond, but the system was down, so it didn't go through. So,
No problem. I'm gonna advise him that, and I'm gonna also call his family just in case. Judge.
okay, all right. All right, Lance Brown.
Judge, bonded.
All right. James Franklin.
Judge, he's a medical reset.
Mr. Franklin is a medical reset. Kadarius Fleming.
Mr. Fleming, come on up, please.
All right, Mr. Fleming is before the court for a charge of loitering or prowling, and I find probable cause.
Judge, I'm going to be asking for the court to consider an R1 on Mr. Fleming's behalf. He's wanting to fight these allegations. He's 18 years old, been here his whole life. He lives with his mother. He's going to school. He goes to Whittam Rogers. He's a senior. He's going to come back to court, Judge. That's why we're asking for an R1 on the second degree misdemeanor nonviolent offense, Judge.
Honor, I'm not opposed to non-monetary release. Based on the nature of the allegations in the loitering and prowling, I would ask for supervision.
Does he have priors?
I'd have to check if he has juveniles.
Is there, I guess, is there a pending case with his co-defendants? Because I remember reading this probable cause affidavit. I mean,
Co-arrested,
yeah.
yeah. I don't see anyone by that name that was arrested, but he could be a juvenile. And as far as any kind of history, yes, Your Honor, he has a substantial juvenile history. It looks like he successfully completed a juvenile program July 24th of this year. I'm showing priors for fleeing and eluding, burglary, 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 another burglary, another burglary.
Judge, considering what the state is advising us then, we would be asking for what the pretrial release.
All right, I'll release him to pretrial supervision.
Listen to the judge.
Mr. Fleming? What is the matter? You can't hear?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Oh, no.
No, I was listening. Like all the noise in the background. I was trying to make sure I hear you.
Oh, all right. Your attorney's giving you the information for pretrial. You need to make sure that you show up to the pretrial office no later than Monday morning. They open at 7:30, and you need to go over there and sign up. If you don't go, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, the only other thing I'd request is an order of
And
no
no-
return to the 8700 block of,
And no return to this location where you were arrested.
thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Christopher Joseph,
Bonded, Judge?
okay.
Mr. Hernandez. Andrew Hernandez?
All right, and Andrew Hernandez, you are before the court for one charge of trafficking cocaine, less than 150 kilograms, and I find probable cause.
Judge, in speaking to Mr. Hernandez, he's not going to be able to afford his bond, $250,000. From what he advised me, he's a fisherman. He's been working at the same boat, the same captain for 3 years as a deckhand. He gets approximately $200 a day. He lives in Key West. He lives with his grandparents, I believe. The total monthly amount is about $1,800 per month. My understanding is they're both retired. He does have prior contact with the system, but from what he advised me, he's been clean since 2016. He's 23 years old. Been here residing in Florida his whole entire life. My understanding, Judge, is he's going to be contacting his girlfriend, his mother, and his grandparents to help post a monetary bond. His mother does work. I believe she's a receptionist at a doctor's office. His girlfriend also works at an office as well. My understanding is he owns or he's financing a vehicle. It's a 2015 Chevy pickup truck. My understanding he pays about $500 a month, but he's behind on payment, so most likely the bank is going to take the vehicle, repossess the vehicle.
Well,
Judge,
here, Mr. Romero, I know you haven't seen the probable cause affidavit, but here's the allegations are that Mr. Hernandez purchased $15,500 worth of drugs. And that also, once he was searched at the police department, he had another $2,320 on him. He purchased 641 grams of cocaine.
And
So,
Your Honor, I just want to note for the record, the other thing I noticed, it does not, one, he doesn't have ties to Broward. Two, it doesn't appear this is isolated in that apparently he mentioned to law enforcement that he was looking for a new source for his supply for his cocaine distribution business in Key West.
so I am going to leave the bond in place of $250,000. All right, Damon Mathis.
he's here.
All right, Mr. Mathis is before the court on one charge of grand theft, and I find probable cause.
State is seeking a $2,500 bond. Mr. Mathis was arrested September 26th for grand theft. Posted a $1,000 bond, was released on the 28th, last Saturday.
Judge, Mr. Mathis did advise me as far as that goes, that's why I wasn't going to ask for anything. Mr. Mathis isn't working at this time unless it's just the court to really just stand the bond in place.
Well, I'll raise it to 2,500. Okay. Walford Folks,
I've been advised to bond, Judge.
all right.
Mr. Hinton?
See,
What up?
but you tried to read that one, Judge, for no reason now. The handwriting on that one.
Oh, yeah. All right, Mr. Hinton is before the court on one charge of possession of methamphetamine. Number 2 is possession of cannabis, 20 grams or less. And number 3 is a traffic infraction. I find probable cause.
Judge, Mr. Hinton advised me he's not going to be able to afford to post a monetary bond. He's been here his whole life. He is working right now. He's working for a company called Streeters Catering. He lives in Oakland Park, an apartment by himself where he's been renting for the past 3 years. He really has no one to help post his bond. I'm asking if the court would consider releasing him ROR or in the alternative on pretrial release. These are nonviolent. I didn't read the PC affidavit, but as you can see, count 3, I believe he was probably walking or jaywalking, and that's the basis of the encounter with law enforcement. So considering the overall totality, I'm asking if the court would consider releasing him ROR or in the alternative pretrial release.
Mr. Hinton is out on a $3,500 bond for burglary of his structure. He was arrested July 9th. He posted his bond July 20th. Additional priors include 2013 possession of firearm by convicted felon, 39 months state prison as a habitual offender, 2012 aggravated assault with a firearm and battery, violation of probation, 39 months. He's had other priors, but those are the most significant.
All right, Mr. Hinton has a $1,000 bond. I'll leave that in place. Howard Fischelberg.
Come on up, sir.
All right, Mr. Fischelberg is before the court on charge 1 is possession of drug paraphernalia. Number 2, driving while license suspended, third or subsequent offense. Number 3 is traffic infraction, no tag light, and number 4 is a petty theft, second degree, third, or it's a felony petty theft. I find probable cause.
Judge, Mr. Fischelberg is requesting an ROR.
Okay.
Your Honor, I wouldn't have an objection to pretrial. He doesn't have recent history, but he does have some violence in the past that he went to state prison on. That's why I wouldn't be requesting any monetary release.
Judge, Mr. Fischelberg, if the court's not inclined to straight ROR, he would appreciate being released in on pretrial.
All right, I'll release him to pretrial and with random drug testing. Okay. Mr. Fisherberg, you need to go to the pretrial office no later than Monday morning. Failure to report, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck.
Thank.
All right, Karlinski Leisure.
Judge, I've been advised he bonded.
Okay. Jordan Nelson.
Bonded, Judge.
All right. Arthur White.
Bonded.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Clayton, on the please.
All right, Mr. Clayton, you're before the court for one charge of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Number 2 is a traffic KPS, and number 3 is a misdemeanor KPS.
Judge,
Yes.
I don't know if this is going to constitute a PC objection, but in reading this probable cause affidavit, I understand that there were multiple arrests, that there were multiple potential defendants, multiple potential victims. I think there's potential stand your ground claims that could be risen. I think there's potential self-defense claims that can be risen. I think there's potential defense of others claims that can be risen. This action, it appears that Mr. Grant approached Mr. Russell, who was with Mr. Clayton, in an aggressive way. Mr. Grant and Mr. Russell engaged physically, and then in this action, Mr. Clayton allegedly aggravated battery with a deadly weapon against Mr. Grant, against Mr. Russell, I'm sorry, against Mr. Russell. And so, again, I don't know that that's technically a PC objection, but I think there are some issues here that are going to be hashed out as to whether or not Mr. Clayton's actions, if any, were totally lawful. And so there may not even be a crime that was committed here. Obviously, I don't speak to counts 2 and 3, but I would just ask that you can consider those legal issues that we see are going to come through with this case in setting a bond as to count 1. I know counts 2 and 3 are separate and apart.
Your Honor, I don't read this going down exactly that way. It appears that, from what's written here, that Mr. Russell and Mr. Grant got into a verbal argument. There's nothing to indicate that that encounter turned into a mutual combat situation. The allegation is at that point, this is according to a witness, Mr. Clayton stabbed Mr. Russell in the chest. It was at that point that Mr. Clayton and Mr. Grant left the scene. Mr. Russell followed, and then he stabbed Mr. Grant, which is exactly why he was on our morning docket for aggravated battery. He's still in the hospital, but the allegation here is that Mr. Clayton stabbed Mr. Russell before the incident, the second aggravated battery occurred.
Right, I see that. I find probable cause.
Your Honor, but because it does appear that there are a lot of moving parts here, I'm going to be requesting a $7,500 bond. Mr. Clayton's history, 2011, trafficking in morphine, delivery of cocaine, possession of cocaine, alprazolam, 5-year state prison, possession of cocaine 2010, criminal mischief 07.
Okay,
Judge,
Besides
and,
those two misdemeanors.
right, one moment. Judge, Mr. Clayton does say he has a past, he has a record, but besides the two recent misdemeanor offenses, he says he really hasn't gotten in any serious trouble. Having said that, in this case that's before the court, he is looking forward to having his day in court, fight these allegations. My understanding is, he was trying to protect his friend, Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant was being, attacked by both, don't say this, by Mr. Russell and another person as well. Mr. Grant was stabbed before anything happened, and that's when I believe Mr. Clayton was running away, and that's when things escalated. But that will be bared out in the future, and not here. Judge, considering all these moving pieces, I'm gonna be asking, because he cannot afford $7,500, I'm gonna be requesting a $2,000 bond on his behalf, Judge.
all right. There are lots of moving pieces, but there is allegation that Mr. Clayton, that a witness reported that Mr. Clayton stabbed someone in the shoulder. And everything else that's going on, I'm sure will be, part of the litigation moving forward. But at this time, I am going to impose a $5,000 bond on number one, okay? All right. All right, on our misdemeanor docket, we have Stacy Young. Where's Miss Young?
He's here at Main Judge Municipal Order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so then there should be a gentleman here by the name of,
All right, is there something else holding Mr. Young in custody? Looks like this is a municipal ordinance matter.
Tony Harris.
He had a VOP that was reinstated, so this is the only thing that's holding him in custody? All right, Mr. Young, I understand that this municipal ordinance violation is the only thing holding you in custody at this time. Do you want to resolve that case, sir?
Yes.
All right, so, all right, so I'll sentence you to time served on this. Do you wish to accept that?
Yes.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
You can put your hand down. And do you understand everything we've talked about here today?
Yes.
Is anyone forcing you to resolve your case?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No.
Do you need any more time to speak with your attorney?
No.
You understand that you have the right to go to trial, but by taking a plea today, you are giving up that right.
Yes.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
No.
And do you understand, sir, that if you are not a U.S. citizen, that by taking a plea today, it could subject you to deportation or immigration changes?
Yes.
What plea do you wish to enter at this time? Guilty or no contest?
No contents.
I accept your no contest plea. I find that it's freely and voluntarily given. Your sentence, sir, is adjudication, time served. Good luck, sir.
Thank you, man.
All right, Jason Palmer,
Conti, Your Honor?
Conte.
North
Okay. That's one over.
It's a 50-50 chance.
Yes,
is.
Mr. Palmer
Yes, he is. I'm sorry,
was
I threw
arrested
that
on the
out.
27th. So this is a second look at his bond, and he has,
Looks like he resolved his.
did he
other
resolve
matter.
his VOPs? Did you resolve the?
He's county
Judge,
sentenced.
he's resolved everything. This is a new law that popped up. I spoke with him. He's county sentenced through December 14th,
Okay,
and he would like to resolve this case as well if possible.
okay. Yes,
Oh,
This has already been resolved on yesterday,
did he
oh,
and he received a sentence complete.
Your Honor might want to inquire, did his felony judge happen to resolve this case too?
did you also resolve a misdemeanor case yesterday, sir?
It was a different one, Your Honor.
He went in front of both judges?
This a resisting without violence charge? It's,
Unfortunately, I had like 3 of them within like a couple weeks, Your Honors. This is
Mr. Palmer, let's take a look at it. It's okay. Let's take a look. We're trying to
Okay.
figure it out right now.
That's an MO. Do we have one for an MM?
It's got a MM.
Judge,
No, I know, I'm
This
just looking
one
at
is
a
a MM.
disposition here that,
Oh.
this is one from September 27th
Yes.
of 2019 involving BSO Pompano.
correct.
We're fixing it, Your Honor. What happened was, I don't know how he ended up in front of Judge Pohl. I guess he had an outstanding municipal ordinance case,
Okay,
that he wasn't being held on. Judge Pohl resolved that.
okay.
I think that caused some confusion at the jail, that they ended up updating this case.
As the a municipal ordinance case.
That being said, the state's offered being adjudication time served to resolve this.
All right, but will everybody be able to correct all of that?
Probably not.
They're telling me yes, Mr. Palmer, so you,
I have faith in the system.
so you gotta keep the faith.
I have faith in the system.
All right, so then this resisting without violence, do you want to resolve that case today?
Please.
All right, so I'll sentence you to time served on that. All right, then please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can put your hand down, and you understand everything we've discussed here today.
I do.
Is anyone forcing you to resolve your case?
No, ma'am.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
Do you need any more time to speak with your attorney?
I do not.
You understand that you have the right to go to trial, but by taking a plea today, you are giving up that right.
I do.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
I'm more than competent enough right now to take this plea on.
No, I understand, but that's not the question. Just yes or no. Have you ever
Yes.
been treated?
Yes.
And then is there anything about that treatment today that would prevent you from making a decision?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and do you understand that if you are not a U.S. citizen, that by taking a plea today, it could subject you to deportation or immigration changes?
I do.
All right, what plea do you wish to enter at this time? Guilty or no contest?
No contest, Your Honor.
I accept your no contest plea. I find that it's freely and voluntarily given, and your sentence serves adjudication and time served. And they're working to make sure that everything is correct. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Matthew Washington. All right, Mr. Washington was arrested on the 29th of September. He has a $100 bond, but had some other no bond holds. Have those been resolved?
The local felonies have been resolved. He was placed on probation. He still has a hold out of Palm Beach County. I don't know.
Judge, I spoke with him, and he's not asking the court to take any action today. He is going
Okay.
to post a bond and go up to Palm Beach.
Okay. All right, then we'll take no action today. Thank you. All right. And then Justin Lawrence.
He is the one who's up in Conti.
He's at Conti.
Copy, Your Honor.
And Mr. Lawrence looks like he's been in for a while,
Yeah.
a little while. August 26th, is that a correct arrest date?
It is, Your Honor. He has an out-of-state hold.
Okay,
This was a change of charge, and a felony charge was no infoed. If he wants to resolve the matter, obviously, the state's offered being adjudication time served.
okay,
The only thing he would need to be advised, the nature of his offense from the other state is financial transaction card theft,
okay.
possession of firearm by a first offender probationer. As I'm sure Mr. Goldberg would advise him, just based on my experience, there could be consequences in resolving a crime of dishonesty like false ID when there's out-of-state charges like financial, any kind of theft.
Judge, I spoke with Mr. Lawrence. He would like to resolve this matter today if possible. I have advised him that the taking of any plea here could constitute a violation of his probation from his out-of-state hold.
Is he on, because it didn't mention here that he was on probation or not, it just, that they're.
I'm sorry, I thought that he was on probation. But if he is on probation, it could constitute a violation of that. Setting that aside, if he's not on probation, I agree with what Mr. Linder said, that this plea could aggravate whatever penalty that you could be receiving in your other state. And I did explain that to Mr. Lawrence, but he does wish to resolve today if possible.
All right, so Mr. Lawrence, a lot has been said, I guess, to you and in your hearing. So hearing everything, do you still wish to resolve the case today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so if you'll raise your right hand, your sentence is going to be time served on this charge. Do you swear,
Yes, ma'am.
raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. And do you understand everything we've discussed here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone forcing you to resolve your case?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, ma'am.
Do you need any more time to speak with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
You understand that you have the right to go to trial, but by taking a plea today, you are giving up that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been treated for mental or emotional illness?
No, ma'am.
And do you understand, sir, that if you are not a U.S. citizen, that by taking a plea today, it could subject you to deportation or immigration changes?
Yes, ma'am.
What plea do you wish to enter at this time? Guilty or no contest?
No contest.
All right, I accept your no contest plea. I find that it's freely and voluntarily given. Your sentence serves adjudication and time served. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, on the felony docket, we have Tony Harris. And so Mr. Harris was arrested September 1st. So this is a second look at his bond.
Is this a motion to release, Your Honor?
It is a motion to release?
It is.
How-
The state today filed an information, both charges as presented.
Okay. Oh. You know, every time we get to the next
It happens
month,
in the beginning of each
I'm always
month.
like, it's not. No, it is. All right. We're in October. All right, so the state has filed a charge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so, Mr. Harris, the state has filed a charge, so you should be going before your division judge for arraignment shortly, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Terrence Rogers,
Conti.
all right, and Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Has the information been
No,
filed?
Your Honor, Mr. Rogers is entitled to an ROR.
All right, Mr. Rogers, the state has not formally filed the charges at this time, so you are entitled to an ROR. I'll sign that order, and just for your information, the state still has time to file the charges, just that at this point, they can't hold you in custody pending that. So you need to make sure if you have an attorney that you stay in touch with your attorney, or check with the clerk's office, or check your mail to see if you have to come back to court. Do you understand
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Brianni Sanchez Bernal. She bonded. All right, Jocelyn Moss.
All right.
All right, so Miss Moss,
All right, Your Honor.
thank you. Miss Moss was arrested on October 1st. She has $2,000 in bonds. So this is a second look.
Yes, at the time of this offense, Ms. Moss was out on a burglary of a conveyance from 2017. I believe she was going through pretrial intervention, but unfortunately, I suspect that's not going to be an option anymore.
She was out on bond on the previously.
I'll see what the conditions were. She was out on a $5,000 bond.
Okay. All right, so, Ms. Moss, I'm going to leave your $2,000 bond in place at this time, okay? All right. Anita DeGroff,
Yes, ma'am.
all right, Mr. DeGroff was arrested October 1st, and Mr. Groff has was $1,850 in bond.
Judge, I've spoken with Ms. DeGroff. She is unable to post that financial bond. I'm going to ask the court to place her on pretrial release. She's told me she's lived here in South Florida her whole life, all 57 years. Same house for the last 19 years in Tamarack. She did give me the address for pretrial. She lives at that house with her husband and her 19-year-old son. She's not working, but beyond her husband and 19-year-old son, she also has a 30-year-old daughter who lives in Fort Lauderdale, as well as a son in Fort Lauderdale, and she cannot afford the $1,850, which is holding her in custody.
I'm fine with pretrial with random testing.
Mr. Groff, I'll release you to pretrial supervision, and that's going to include random drug testing.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you need to report to the pretrial office by Monday morning. If you don't report, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. And also that you know that you will be subjected to random drug testing.
That's fine,
All
ma'am.
right, the deputy will give you the information for the address for the pretrial office.
Okay, thanks, ma'am.
All right,
Thank you, Judge.
you're welcome. And then, Derek Vincent,
Mr. Vincent is here present, and Judge, he's approaching. Come on up, sir.
Mr. Vincent was arrested October 1st. And he has $2,100 in bond. These are all drug charges.
Judge, initially when Mr. Vincent came in, I believe he declined the service as public defender. He was gonna hire his own counsel. He came here by himself, the bonds were left in place. My understanding, Judge, and speaking to him now, he's gonna be applying for the public defender's office. I believe this is, he has no prior felony convictions. He is working, he works for a local agency. He lives locally here in Fort Lauderdale, where he's been residing at for the past 4 months. He's been having a hard time trying to get in touch with anyone to post his monetary bond. He's asking if the court would consider releasing him on pretrial release on these nonviolent offenses.
Just checking to make sure, frankly, I don't remember his history, so I'm just checking to make sure there's no red flags.
Okay.
And Judge, the city's gonna find this out. He's relocated from California to over here to Florida. He has prior contacts in California, but I believe it's been a year and they were, misdemeanors.
A little bit shorter than a year, but that being said, I don't have an objection to pretrial with random testing.
All right, so Mr. Vincent, I'll grant the ROR to pretrial supervision. And sir, you need to report no later than Monday morning to the pretrial office. If you don't report, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. And also, sir, that you'll be subjected to random drug testing. Do you understand that?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Dorian Kimbrough,
Did he post the bond?
Released?
okay. And Lucianne Homer.
North Broward?
All right, so Ms. Homer was arrested on October 1st, and she's back for a second look at her bond status.
Your Honor, her bond is $6,500 for grand theft between $5,000 and $10,000, fraud, false instrument, personal identification fraud, and possessing a forged driver's license or ID. Probably the greatest concern, and I suspect for the court, is the fact that Ms. Homer has no ties to the community. She resides in New York. We were advised she was here on vacation, but
All right, I remember this.
Judge, if I may, the tie to the community that she provided to me is an aunt in Miami that she would like the court to place her on pretrial to reside with. She gave me the address of, I have the address in Miami. I guess her aunt has lived in Miami for the last 40 years. She told me that she herself, neither her nor her aunt are going to be able to afford that $6,500. But if the court places her on pretrial, she can go stay with her down there.
I'm a little concerned because I know Mr. Goldberg wasn't here.
Right,
other
the
day.
problem I have is, well, first of all, none of that was said on the first or the second, whenever it was that she came before the court. That, the information that I have is that she was on vacation and she needed to get back to her two children. And at that time, I was like, you're here on vacation. The allegations being that she used a fake driver's license to withdraw $8,900 from from a TD account, and then another, that was it, the 8,900, using someone else's information, someone who happens to also have a New York address. And she's not from this area, so she has, I am going to leave the bonds in place. Okay,
Thank you, Judge.
all right. Kevin Gill,
Devin, are you sure where he's at?
all right, Mr. Gill is at Maine, and Mr. Gill,
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
He's posted the bonds on the first two counts.
yes.
I have no, the $25 bond on count 3 is still in place. I have no objection to an ROR on that count.
Oh. Oh, well, that's the information, oh, so there's just a $25 bond, that's not, all right, so I'll ROR him on that one. His other bond has been posted. Okay? All right, so, that's it for the afternoon docket. Yes? All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.